Oh, good.
Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
So, of course, you know I'm Sammy Bichet, and I thought we would get together today. We met on the San Juan Social Club cruise.
We did.
And decided to both stay on for another one. Why don't you give me, first of all, let's start with your full name.
I am Christine Campbell Rapin.
And what is Christine Campbell Rapin most famous for?
I am famous for helping the emerging entrepreneurs understand that business growth is actually elegantly simple, and finding consistent clients is not magic. Doesn't require big ad budgets, doesn't require complicated tech, but it's really important to understand how to build a business and write your own paycheck.
Now, obviously, you must start from a very minimal level, because if I had a hot dog stand, for example, and I wanted to have two, would you come to me? Would I go to you for something like that, or is that way too small for you?
No, interestingly enough, we work with everyone who is brand new, just starting out, and the first question they're asking for is my idea something I can commercialize, right? So that's going to be always our first tell. And
they ask you for something, an idea?
They bring the idea.
Oh, okay.
And because I've worked with more than 400 companies, everything from freelancers, solopreneurs, mom and pops, up to some of the biggest companies on the planet, they're all asking, will people pay for what I want to sell? And that's sometimes the biggest challenge, because the ideas are the easy bit of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's the execution.
And the execution's the problem. And I'll say, based on my lens of 30 years of business experience and $1 billion of revenue behind us, in working in different companies, different parts of the world, different kinds of products, I'm like, do I think it's got legs? Do I think it's actually got momentum? And then I say, so sometimes they're asking me, they're coming saying, I need to be clear, does this have an engine? And I'll be saying, more importantly, are you asking me to validate the idea?
Right. Have you actually run into clients where they had really ridiculous concepts and you know, like,
yes.
you know, like Leary on Shark Tank,
Yeah.
He's like, don't spend another penny on this.
Yeah, I absolutely have. I've had lots of conversations, you know, unfortunately with people, and it's like, are you prepared to do the work? Because we got sold a highlight reel. Like, there's so little barriers to entry getting going that people really think, if I have this idea, like, money will just follow and people will just show up. And I'm like, you have bought a Kevin Costner movie called The Field of Dreams. It doesn't work that way. And so a big part of it is the idea.
Field of Dreams actually did work out.
It did, but they had to take a gamble and, you know, make a lot of money, a lot of investments in their capital to get going.
Blind faith.
Blind faith is a good place to start, but it's, are you really prepared to do the work? And secondly is, have you thought about, is there evidence that there's a buyer for this?
So market research is going to be obviously a very essential part.
Sure it is.
Now, is that part of the service that you offer, is to create an analysis, market research, a financial plan, a business plan to help with the funding and the funding strategy?
Yes and no. So we don't get involved in funding. I always say to people, you've got to realize, how will you fund it? So we'll ask the questions around that, but I'm not there to be a banker, and I'm not there to have necessarily.
Oh, no, I don't mean that you are the banker. I'm
That's
saying, can you help me prepare a financial statement, what I call an if-come statement rather than income statement, that a bank would look at, and I would have a better chance of getting my funding approved based on your experience of knowing what they're looking for and how to, you know, dot the I's and cross the T's and which boxes to fill. Is that a service you provide as well?
We're definitely going to look at some of the fundamentals first. And where relevant, we're going to bring in potentially other partners to take it to the next level. But the first piece is going to be strategy, and that we're very much covering. Who are you? Where are you going to want to play? How will you win there? What will it take to win there? So some of those basic foundation questions are for sure something we will always take every client through. Then it will become an understanding of, what does the market lead? And we're asking, helping, guiding them the questions. Because some of the big challenges for any entrepreneurs, I don't know what questions to ask.
Well, that's actually in life too, isn't it?
It's true.
So, well, here's the questions that I've wanted to ask. We're well aware now, I think anybody who's heard your name, you've been quite well known in the industry for a long time. Tell us a little bit about your past. You know, where'd you start from? Where were you born? I think you're Canadian, aren't you?
I am Canadian.
Oh.
Canadian, taking over the world, serving clients all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, I had a pretty, I would say, traditional expectation. I was educated in the world of business. I have 2 degrees in the world of business.
Oh, no, I need you to start further back.
Well, I was born
Yeah.
that far back. I actually was born in a place called Regina, Saskatchewan.
Regina.
And I have...
Farm girl.
That is the shortest place I have ever lived, Saskatchewan, and I've done it twice, both under 2 years.
Really?
But I've lived in 5 countries, 30 cities, and some cities more than once.
Okay. So you got brothers, sisters?
I have an older brother.
And what did he end up doing?
He also, for a period of time, was an entrepreneur. He was really into tech and building things, but he also spent a lot of his life in the military, and he unfortunately got discharged from the military for medical reasons. And
is he okay now?
He will never have the life that he thought he would have. He has a deteriorated spine, and he lives on a sailboat full time because being in motion... That's a horrible
way to spend his life, eh?
Well, because being in motion means it's never ceasing.
Right.
Right. So he actually does live on a boat full time.
Does OHIP pay for the sailboat for the treatment?
There was a settlement out of it, honestly enough.
Really?
Yeah, because they mismanaged his health to the point now he will not have a physical functioning like the way he thought.
Other than his physical discomfort and some limitations, how's his spirit? Is he handling it well?
He's handling it, but I wouldn't say well. It's tough. It's tough to know that the life is not the one you anticipated. It's tough to live. That's an
expectation, though.
It's tough to live in a life where every day just the basic fundamentals of moving is hard.
Yeah.
And so he gets support for sure. There's lots of teams to support his mental health, and he's got some good people that are really working the journey with him.
A lot of the conversations that I've been having has been mostly about overcoming challenges. And what we have discovered through the conversations is that really it comes down to nothing more than a choice.
100%.
So you yourself, have you had any of these types of challenges, maybe not as extreme, but when you were young, did you have any challenges or any barriers that you had to overcome?
Well, I think when I first started my life in the world of corporate, I said I did go to university for corporate, but they didn't really tell you everything that you could encounter in the world of corporate. In my very first job, I left the big city. I was living on Vancouver Island at the time.
The big city of Regina?
Well, I was in Victoria at the time, and I moved to Vancouver. So Vancouver was the big city.
Yeah.
And I got my first apartment. I never had a roommate, and I got a job, and I got fired pretty quickly into that job.
Good for you.
Because of an unfortunate reality that...
No, that's a mark of an entrepreneur.
Was never covered in the business class.
It's a badge of honor.
I was the only female on staff when I was hired.
This was in 1948?
Yes, it was. In the spring, actually.
In the spring.
Yeah. And I said to my boss, all things being equal, it's weird. It's weird that I'm the only female in a company. It was a tech startup. Not surprising. So more men in the world of tech at that age, and even to this age.
The HR department must have been right there to help you.
And I said, it's all things being equal, you should hire a woman.
Yeah.
And he did. He hired a technical writer who was another woman, and he was a married guy who started having an affair with her.
Oh.
And I found myself out of a job because...
You weren't the pretty girl?
I was the person who had a job that traveled, and if she took over this job, they could keep their affair more hidden, and I found myself on the out, and I
So both of you got screwed?
Yes.
That really sucks. Whatever happened to that guy? Was he eventually found out and
interestingly enough
dismissed?
No, he was not, because HR at the big corporate level said he is the company. We give you a check.
Yeah.
You got a lot of opportunity. Go do something else and be quiet. And I was like, wow, that was my entry to the work world.
Were you able to prove this affected you and sue the company?
I didn't. And this is the thing about when you're not prepared for a conversation and you find yourself in the mix, you don't really know what to do. And I went to HR. I went to the advocate that I thought I should, and I did not get the response I had hoped for.
What kind of response did they give you? Because this is a PR nightmare.
Yes. What they said was, legal laws, Canadian-wide, we can terminate, but there's no cause. We're not firing you for performance. We're just saying it's no longer a cultural fit. And I was given more severance than standard and said, you won't get any more.
You got the shut up check.
I did. And I took it.
Well, how old were you at this time?
I was probably 23, 24. So
you now, in hindsight, with the amount of knowledge and wisdom that you have, how would you have handled it differently?
Well, first off, I would have probably had more direct conversations with my boss on this.
The culprit?
Yes, because again, I would think I would have, in hindsight now, I would have directly had a conversation. I would have had the leadership to lead into that conversation.
Okay, well, give me an example of how that conversation would have gone. Let's not talk in abstract, because somebody that's watching right now might be going through this. So, as a young woman, you experienced this, which has been a barrier for a lot of women.
Still happens.
It still does, exactly. Now, the young woman that experienced this basically took the shut up check because she didn't understand the PR nightmare it was for the company and the actual cost to the company. But now you do. So what would the conversation look like now? What would you say to him, and what would you say to PR, and would you be hiring a lawyer and suing the company? What are the things that you would do differently?
Well, I think the first thing that I really would have taken around this is my own self-worth around it. I don't know that I would have sued. I don't know that I would have pursued legal action, but I would have certainly had a better understanding of where do I go from here, right? So when I was at that age, the first thing that I learned my first leadership lesson out of it, and it was actually one that was taught by my dad, and it has shaped how I would lead now. First thing he said is, there'll be people that will gather facts, people will interpret the facts, and people will execute. Leadership is not a popularity contest.
No.
And you've got to decide, your job is not to judge her, the other woman in this situation.
She really wasn't the fault here.
She made her choice. She was the one who walked me out to tell me that was actually what I was terminated. I didn't know. I was just given the check.
She was benefiting, but she wasn't trying to hurt you.
Correct. And she said, you've got more options, more skills, and more talents. And so I wish you well. And in some way, I wanted to just have that honesty between
You still didn't answer the question.
I know. I'm coming back.
All right.
Second thing that I would have had, second thing around that was also my dad's like, your job is not to judge him as a leader either. It's a decision you make on how will you lead.
Yeah.
So you asked the question, what would I be doing differently? A big part of that conversation would be a frank conversation about, one, just it wasn't acceptable, right? This personal smear that happened made me question who I was. It created a culture in an organization that hid things. It created an unbiased and unfortunate hiding culture. But I would have.
You don't mean unbiased. You mean biased.
I do mean biased. Excuse me. Yes, I do. And I would have had the frank conversation of, this isn't an acceptable behavior. And what I would also...
And he'd say, it's none of your business what I do with this woman. And
what I would also...
Your response will be what? That it affected you. And
it affected me,
well,
but imagine...
No, it's not the reason we're firing you. It's just you're not as good.
Well, I think the question I would have said is, would this be acceptable to you if it was your daughter? Or if it was someone that you saw on the other side? Because I think, we all think, oh, it's not about me. But I'm like, would you be comfortable if this was someone in your other side? Because when I've told this story, and I didn't talk the story for many years, and I said, how do you choose to lead?
Yeah.
Because this could be your daughter's story.
Was this a small company?
Yeah, this was a subsidiary. We were about 20 people in the organization.
So it was owned by a head office somewhere else?
Correct.
And they never got involved?
Publicly traded company.
So you do now know that the stock would have taken a hit with a negative PR.
I could have, yes.
So could you not have negotiated for, say, a better pay with a different position, move to a different satellite office? What other options would you have? Like, I honestly, if somebody is watching right now and is going through this, what honest advice would you give this woman how she should deal with this so she can make the best out of that situation? Because you are an expert in business and you understand and you coach people, incredibly articulate, as we've discovered over the last 10 minutes. So now advise this woman.
Well, I think the first thing I would do is say to them, take stock, right? So you've got...
Do you mean buy stock, or do you mean take stock of the situation?
No, take stock of the facts of the situation. What did your skills contribute to the job?
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is deciding, yes, this is a moment, but it's not your lifetime.
So show your value to the company.
So show your value to the company. I think that you need to make sure that you have good dialogue and conversations with your leadership team, not just sit down at performance reviews. I think you really always want to make sure that you have recommendations, testimonials, other people in the organization who will be an advocate for you in your workplace.
Yeah.
Because if I'd had that in place, I would have not have been so, in my own mind, isolated, right? The other thing that I think is important for somebody who's facing this is getting really clear how you want to lead yourself. Because I have no regrets about how I led myself. And I remember the conversation with my dad. He said, this is a moment you will decide what kind of leader you will be. I wasn't a leader yet.
That's where we're going with this.
And I think, you know,
what you got out of it and how it formed your life.
So I could I have had a bigger check? Sure, but the check I write to myself now was precipitated by the choice of leadership I learned at 23.
So he actually was a good lesson for you.
It was an expensive lesson, but also one that has absolutely, for me, I think, really created a rock solid belief in who do I want to be, what will I tolerate, what will I not tolerate, and how can I build relationships where there is a platform for honest conversations and also a line in the sand. My number one core value coming out of this was integrity. I'm like, the hardest business lesson I ever learned, not everyone has the same integrity level I do.
And you were how old when you figured this out?
23.
You were younger than most people. That actually is a core principle for me that it took me into my late 30s to understand that money comes and goes, but integrity is the most important value that we have. And as we have it, I mean, interestingly enough, we use the word integrity and people get a little confused. But if we say, what is your credit score? They understand that. And your credit score shows your integrity. That's how they judge whether they should trust you.
Are you trustworthy?
Yes. So integrity is all about trust. It's where your line is drawn in the sand, where you can live with yourself.
Correct.
So now you're 23 at this point. So what did you decide to do? Did you decide I'm not working for men again? Did you decide I'm going to be a harder bitch? Like, I mean, how did it inform you?
Truthfully, neither one of those even occurred to me that I could make that choice. Neither one were not even on the table. I think what I decided, my dad and my parents were great because I came home saying, oh my God, I have to pay rent. I have bills to pay. Like, where the hell do I go from here?
So you felt like a victim in that moment.
Prepared me for this. I don't know if victim was the right word, truthfully. I just thought.
It sounds like the way you've described it.
This was my just real reality. I think it really helped me face the facts, right?
And someone who limits your choices, that's the definition of a victim.
Yeah.
And like you said, this person had control, he had power, the HR had power, this other girl had some more power. You were the one that was affected negatively. Now you had to go look for work. You didn't have any choice there. You just went off and you had bills to pay.
And that's where I did make the decision. You talked about choices.
Yeah.
Choice to get off the ground. And that's a choice you will make over and over and over in life and over and over and over in business.
Yeah.
And so my dad said what are your skills? Where can you add value to an organization, and do not let this shape that you don't have value, because it certainly did. Certainly it's a lump, and it's still a lump, many, many, many years later.
See, you'll never forget it, eh?
I will never.
No.
And I right away went to a temp agency and said, here's my skill set.
Yeah.
I'm looking to explore opportunities. And interestingly enough, through that, I started temping in a company that eventually 3 of the people I was serving started a startup.
Oh.
And one day they were talking about my skill set and said, we need somebody like Christine who can solve the problem, who will figure things out. And the conversation around the table was, why don't we just go hire her?
Yeah.
So I got a phone call about 6 months later, it was Easter, and they said, I want to talk to you about a job. I'm like, I'm not looking for a job. I've just had my temporary role go permanent. And they're like, I know exactly what it will cost for you to jump, because they had hired me in a previous role.
Yeah.
They said, I want you to work for me. I said, that seems like a big risk. It was a startup. They had $4 million in funding. They're like, we know $4 million will last us 2 years. And we'd like you to start work for us.
So how long did it take you to make that decision? But the first question is, did you ask your father his opinion?
I did not ask his opinion, but I told him that it had arrived, because it had happened. I was home for the family for Easter. And I said, I've got this job opportunity. And he said, is it a stepping stone? It wasn't an opinion, but I said, I've got this job opportunity. He's like...
Your father sounds like an incredibly wise man.
He is.
He asks questions and he waits for you to come up with the answer. Do you feel he had a huge impact on your development?
Yes, for sure.
And when your father, just real quick on a sidestep, what did he do for a living?
He was a gentleman who worked in oil and gas, and he really did shape me a lot as a leader, because he he always said, my handshake is my word.
Yeah.
And that was the problem in that first career experience, because that handshake was not honest. That wasn't a word. And I was like, but that's how it works. That's how it was modeled. That's the way I've always seen it. It was like, wow, it doesn't always work that way.
So he guided you in a lot of ways. He was one of your first coaches and your first mentor.
Yeah, a high influence for sure.
And you're fortunate enough to still have him in your life.
I am at the moment, yes.
You are lucky. So now you work with the startup. Please tell me there was a wonderful outcome on that decision.
I would say yes. And again, it was an incredible journey. I was with one of the first 5 people in the organization, and this is wild when you think back, but this was the .com booms before it happened, during and after it imploded. And we built a 1,000-page website with Post-it notes on a glass wall because we didn't know any better. And the day after we launched it, we had to restart the whole thing because it was built on principles of print media, and then the website wouldn't load because it was so heavy. And it looked amazing.
What year was this?
This would have been 98.
Oh, the internet was horrible 99. At that point.
Somewhere in that world.
You had to build it for a 28.8 or a 33.6 modem.
Yeah, it was wild.
Graphics were not helpful. So how did you solve that?
Well, we went back to rebuild. We partnered with some very big people who eventually became EA Games. I got to meet the owner of Google down in San Francisco.
Which one?
Bryn, and I thought he was a jerk.
Paige and Bryn.
And
that's funny.
And he's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I'll be the only search engine that exists in 5 years, and you guys don't even know it. And I was like, what a jerk.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
And he had the arrogance to say that to you. So you were saying that you met Larry Bryn. Was it Sergey Brin and Larry Page?
Sergey Brin.
And he gave you a bit of an arrogant response.
He did. We were there to learn about search engines. Like the way this story backed it up a sec, we were at the launch, our launch party, the day we hit the live button, and we're like, that's it? Like, so anticlimactic, right? We spent months building this website. We literally turned it on and was like, okay, refresh, and then it was there. And I was chatting to our CEO, and I said, well, now that we built it, how will you help people find the tool we built? And he's like, well, we're going to do media advertising and TV. We were partnered with some people on Global. And I'm like, but the world finds the web through search engines. So then on the next work day, I got called into the room, and my boss said, don't panic, but the CEO wants to talk to you directly, and whatever happens, you'll be fine. And I'm like, what the hell's happening? And I found myself in front of the CEO, and he said, well, you're going to report directly to me, and you're going to answer that question because you knew enough to ask it.
Right.
And I said, I don't know anything much about search engines.
The question to ask,
and he's
like you said earlier.
You know enough to go figure this out, so that's your new job. You report to me. And
so you went to go see Sergey directly?
No, they were hosting an event in San Francisco.
This is before they were anything.
This was before they were anything.
I mean, this is Netscape era.
100%. Netscape, AOL, Yahoo were in the room, all the original guys.
And the main search engine at the time was
AOL.
There was another one.
Alta Vista.
Alta Vista.
It's Alta Vista.
How does Yahoo lose this?
Well, so
they actually had the chance to buy Google.
They did. But we were in the room, and I got connected through online community. So again, talk about first generation.
Please tell me you bought shares.
I did not.
You did not.
I did not. I thought he was an idiot. I was not impressed.
Oh, I hope in 30 years you've gained more wisdom.
I don't know. Just as foolish on some decisions. But it was about getting in the right room, right? So if you don't have the knowledge, know what questions to ask, get into a room with people who had knowledge.
Proximity is everything.
And that really has been just as true today. It's funny when...
That's your motto.
When Zoom came into flavor, I said, what's so weird about Zoom and how the world woke up to digital conversations? I have been Skyping up until 18 months ago when they finally killed Skype, but I've been Skyping every week with my parents since 1996.
Wow.
I've lived all over the world.
How did Skype die?
They shut it down.
Zoom
took it over.
Wiped out Skype.
Yeah.
This is interesting because you are in the business of helping people not end up being wiped out.
Correct.
So now we're going to bring us into some of your greatest successes and triumphs. At what point did you realize that you had an absolute, with clarity, that you had a massive value that you could add to people rather than work for someone? You would work with someone. This is a huge jump for you. You're going from being an employee to being somebody that says, I'm going to set up my own business and people will pay me and hire me as a consultant. At what point did you make that decision?
Well, I think there were two key conversations that came into play. One, I got a message through LinkedIn from somebody I worked with when I lived in the UK for Procter & Gamble. Not a friend, nobody I ever socialized with, but an office colleague, and said, "You always struck me as someone who was entrepreneurial. I have a business opportunity. Will you have a conversation with me?" And I thought, I can't believe you remember my name, because we never had a social conversation outside of the office. And I was so curious 10 years later that she would reach out that I was like, what are we here to talk about?
Yeah.
And she planted a seed that I didn't know I had planted 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought, maybe it's time to start building something. And it was never intended to be this multi-million-dollar thing, but I thought if I could make a little bit of extra money, would do some fun things, right? Travel more with my husband, spend some more time.
Was this the first husband?
This is my only husband.
Oh, you've only been married once.
Correct.
And how long have you been married?
We are coming up 8 years this August.
So you were in your 40s when you got married?
Yes.
And do you have children?
We have 2 children from his first marriage, yeah.
From his marriage. And they
Awesome
enjoyed
kids.
you? You just like got right in there and were able to be the mom?
I'm not their mom. I'm a great woman who has great friendship with them. I have a different relationship with them, but they've got a great mom.
That's great. And that's Ed we're talking about.
It is.
I think I met him.
You have.
Interesting guy.
He is.
But and you guys are living in Alberta now.
We are.
Okay, so now let's get back to you were.
So that was the
you
first
had met Ed before you jumped to being a coach on your own.
Correct. And there's a funny story about that day. But so she planted the seed.
Yeah.
And I could hear all the reasons why it wasn't convenient in my head. You know, we were engaged to be married.
Yeah.
Bonus kids were coming into play. We were building a house. I'd had a dog at the time. I was like, that was not the time to start a business.
Yeah, but you had a safety net. The guy was making decent money.
I never saw it that way. I was like, why am I scared of this? Was my question in my head. And I said, I don't want to be the person who's scared of opportunity. So in that thought, I was brushing my teeth. I sent her a WhatsApp message that I'm in. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I came down to the kitchen. Ed was making coffee. And I said, by the way, babe, I've started a business. He's like, you did what? I just saw you brushing your teeth. And I said, well.
So 5 minutes ago, before you were brushing your teeth, you had a job. Now you brush your teeth.
And now I had a job plus a side hustle.
Okay.
And so that's where it had started. But the second piece of the story that's important is I never thought I would build a consulting business with my skill set. I was never that, I would say, aspirational.
Or confident in your skill set?
I just didn't know that it was something people needed help with. Like, it wasn't like
But you've been doing it for years.
Sure, but it never, again, you cannot see your own success. But I started with my own first business.
But isn't that the beginning, the vision?
Well, and people kept saying to me, we'd sit over cups of coffee, we'd be out networking, and people are like, how are you making clients working 1 hour a day? And I know you've got a big corporate job and a life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because it's simple.
Yeah.
And to me, it was simple because I spent 30 years doing it for other people.
Yeah.
I've made other companies lots of money. I understood marketing, sales, and systems. And they would say, well, what do I need to do? And I said, 2 things predict your revenue. Go do that.
Yeah.
And inevitably, this conversation came up so frequently that I would then run into the same people. 6 months would go by, 3 months, and I'm like, you're still in the same place working 80 hours a week and not making any money. What the hell is wrong with you? It's so, like the hokey pokey. It's exhausting watching from the outside. Go do this.
Yeah.
And people were like, I can't do it on my own. Can I pay you? And I said, that's weird. I must have said that for months.
Yeah.
It's weird that you want to pay me to do this. And eventually,
but it's logical when you think about it now.
It is, but a friend of mine's like, pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't like what I saw in the coaching industry. I never wanted to be in that coaching industry where no real life experience, learned through some, books, courses, or websites. And we're really bamboozling I thought, a lot of people out of significant wealth.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to be part of that. I don't think it is at all where I want to play. And a friend of mine had said, but you actually aren't that. You have a lot of business experience. You've had a lot of grenades you stood on. You will lob them at people. You've been lobbed at. And that kind of expertise is really valued.
Well, you're not taking money from them. You're saving the money if you're doing the job.
Correct.
Like an excellent lawyer, an excellent accountant, and an excellent business coach all make you money.
Yes.
Simple as that.
If the idea is got good validity, which is where we started. And I said, if I won't take this as a client, if I don't think we'll get a return for you.
Theoretically, we go back to the integrity. Mm-hmm. If you sit down with someone in the initial consultation and you look at this and go, this is a ridiculous idea, but I'll take your money, then that kind of puts you out of integrity now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like,
the vote of confidence should be that the fact that you're willing to take them on as a client says that they do have a viable business idea, they just need some guidance.
Correct.
So you provide the guidance, and you said you've developed how many in 30 years? How many companies have you worked through?
We've supported over 400.
400 companies. To when you use the number $1 billion of revenue, would you say that those companies would have been 200 million in revenue, and because of your advice and expertise, they were able to 5x what they would have done on their own?
It's everything from, again, for people in their first revenue, so taking their first 50,000 to 100,000 to million. So my personal place where I love to play right now is in that first million. But we've also worked with other companies who it is the multi-million. And I always say there's different phases of in your own way.
Yeah.
And I love working through, let's get the foundations right. And you can decide whatever your multiple is. There will be some multiples that people are like, I just want another 100,000. Other people are like, I want to have an asset to sell.
Yeah.
And some of the companies, have started at the place where I've come into the equation, and we are at lower six figures. Other times we've walked into businesses and over my career, and it's like, we're already making millions. But they're like, we made 2 and we got to 7.
So what kind of spaces are you in? I mean, spaces is the newer term, but industry is the other term that is sort of the dinosaur term, because industry doesn't really encapsulate. We don't have enough industries for the amount of spaces that we deal in, and it's detailed, much more detailed when we use the term spaces. So what spaces do you operate in?
So I would say 2 types of spaces really love working within how I see the world. I'm going to use the word creative. So think marketing agencies, video production, podcast, animation studios, people who are selling craftsmanship business.
Did you guys hear that?
Because they're stuck in their...
I'm going to get asked, did you hire her?
They're there to really sell a craftsmanship. And right now, they're really struggling to win in the marketplace against a market that's trying to drive in AI. I said, I'm not saying don't be all one or all the other, but you've got to sell yourself as a craftsman.
Right.
Because your way you see the world has to be seen, communicated, and positioned as I'm a must-hire.
Yeah.
Because it's what you do behind the lens or behind the creative that really matters. But most people think the creative is the thing they're selling. I'm like, it's not true. It's the vehicle to a result. So creatives is one group, and we work with a lot of professional consultants. So again, people who...
So you consult to the consultants?
We do, because they
teach them how to build up their business.
They get stuck buying themselves a job.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like, I want the freedom, I want the independence, but now I wear 12 hats. I don't know if I want to do all 12 hats. How do I get out of this? And how do I also, maybe in many ways, take their IP and do something great with it? So whether that is...
IP is intellectual property.
Yes. Sorry, watch the language. But we take, the way they see their frameworks, their business expertise. And a lot of people right now are finding themselves through the layoffs, through other reasons, going, I'm not done working, but I don't want to work for anybody else. And truthfully, ageism is a huge thing still in the workplace.
Well, actually, it's interesting. I'm going to ask 2 questions. First off, have you worked with a lot of people like myself who are podcasters and helped them make millions?
Yes.
Okay, did you hear that? She said she could make me millions.
Well, you're going to make the millions.
Well, I am. And you're going to get the hundreds of thousands.
I'm going to be in the mix between here's the brain power behind it, and here's the butt kicking of do the things that actually,
work. So you
work.
actually understand how the pipeline works.
Yes,
you understand how the social media works, and how to monetize something like what we're doing right now.
And how to stay focused on the business development activity.
Yeah.
And we built it, the modeling in a lot of our programming is still built around this idea of 1 hour super effective on business development opportunities is, it needs to be there. Most people are like, I know I should do it. I know I could do it. I don't think I really do it. And I'm like, an hour. I'm like, I have a program. It's like, can you commit to 3 minutes for me to tell you what to do? You have to listen for 3 minutes. Can you do that? Like, I know the world's really crazy and you got really distracted, but 3 minutes. You're like, I can do 3 minutes. I'm like, then will you do the action I tell you for 30 to 60 minutes every day? And they're like, I can do that. And then I go, well, on day 7, why have you stopped? They're like, because I don't know, I'm busy. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are making it so hard.
So the hard part is when you're giving them the advice and the knowledge and the experience and the wisdom, and they don't listen.
Well, they listen.
But they don't act.
They don't act. And so part of what we have to...
So which means they don't listen. We use the term listen, but in fact, they're not hearing you.
Correct.
All right. Now, is that a failure in your ability to communicate how important it is? Because always we look at it's not the student, it's the teacher. And if they're not acting, yet they came to you in the first place, they're paying you, they want the success, and you're sitting there going, here's the answer. If they're not acting, maybe you're not communicating it well enough.
Partly true. So one of the things that we would be looking at, if we ever watch somebody not execute, it always comes down to a conversation, what's going on? Right? And part of it is this really what you want?
Maybe it isn't.
Maybe it isn't. And
fear of success.
We see it all the time.
Yeah.
For sure we do. And I say, well, what is congruent?
When you say we, you're referring to you and Ed, or you and somebody else?
It could be me. It could be other people we bring in to support clients. We run events where we'll have other speakers in there. So we're collectively bringing our expertise into a room.
I've noticed you consciously do not like to use the word I.
Correct.
Interesting. And there's a reason behind that. There is no I in team.
It's not about me.
No, but it is if you're the consultant I'm hiring.
Well, I think you're also going to not just hire me, you're also hiring the expertise and the network that I bring to you. So it's actually still never an I.
Are you expensive?
No.
So when a person wants to use you, I'm assuming you offer different packages.
We do.
It could be a one-time consultation to review the business. It could be, okay, I'm going to hire you kind of like for a month to guide me for a month so that I can take the ball and run with it. You have a price set for that. You have an hourly rate. You have a daily rate. So how does this work in your business?
How does this work? So we always say we stand for one thing, consistent client growth. And I would say there's 4 pathways to get there. There's, I'm going to say, free knowledge, which is coming either through our own podcast, which we run, our own events that we run, and it's always knowledge transference, right? So path 1. Second path in our way is to work in, I would say, group type learning.
Okay.
Small cohort, but you're never going to get lost because I'm going to watch if you stall. So we have a couple different types of group programs. We do a lead sprint, which is 30 days, but it is self-guided, self-controlled to speed, but very structured around 30 days. Some people will do it in 30 and some people will do it in 90. Just, I'm going to watch if you stall. Why are you stalling? You get a phone call from me. What's going on over there? What's going on? We always go back to what.
Yeah.
We also run a 12-week program, which gets really clear on the fundamentals. Who's your buyer? How will you move them from curious to paid client? And what makes in particular you a must-hire, not a likable expert?
Okay.
Because a lot of people get caught in the likable expert space. So our 12-week program will build you the business foundations and get you into the activity.
But wait a minute, you use the term must hire.
Yes.
I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want to be hired. I want to work. I want to sell my products. So you're using the term must hire as in the acceptance in the market as me being somebody they need to deal with or want to deal with.
The way that we see the world is my number one job, our team's collective number one job is we have to be the lens of your next client.
Okay.
So I'm helping you position yourself as somebody who is a resource it's worth putting my hard-earned money into your pocket for.
All right, but let's say, okay, I'm a podcaster. I interview incredible people like yourself, and I hope that it adds value to other people's lives. Where do I fit into the world?
Where do you want to fit into the world?
I want to be a contribution so that others will learn from people like yourself. Like that story you just told about how you overcame that adversity as a young woman, and that's still occurring all the time. Plus the services that you offer, telling people, look, if you're trying to start up a business, don't try to do it all by yourself. You can save yourself years of money if you just listen to someone who's already been there and done that. That adds contribution to the listener. So my question would be what would be the first thing you would tell me?
Well, I think in what you've just described, there's 2 types of people who I use the word buyer, but you could say user of the service.
Sure.
Okay.
No, buyer works.
Buyer works.
Yeah.
Some people, again, depending on where you come from, let's say client, patient, not a million words you can use, but the person who's exchanging, the person who's like investing, think of it that way. There's 2 types of people. It's like the audience for you is a buyer. So how do I get people to listen to what we've created?
Sure.
Right? But there's also how do I have, who's the next buyer? Who's my next guest? Who's the next person I want to interview? So for you, it's really understanding possibly, could you monetize and do you want to monetize one or both? And
hey, I'm 60 and I would like many things in life.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to spend time doing something, I am all for contribution and I'm all for charity, but you need the money for the charity. You need the money for your time, because time is the only thing I can't make more of.
Correct.
So, yes, I do want to monetize. I want to be able to, the more I monetize, the more I can do.
So when you look at those two buyers, I'm going to bring in a third actually, now that I've just thought about it on my brain. So you can think about how can I create value with those two different people, those two different lenses, they would exchange something. And that could be money, resources, bandwidth, I always look at wealth as multifaceted.
So I'm charging the interviewee, or I'm charging...
Possibly. You know, the model exists.
So some people would pay for that, okay.
You know the model exists, because some people will buy podcast space on the platform for one. You built the audience. I just can take advantage of the lens.
So if I got 1 million people eyeballs,
correct,
they want to get in front of them, then
so they might pay for it. You might also pay for it. Somebody who's also just starting, who doesn't really worry about the eyeballs, but you produce a great polished video. They've got now social content that they can use. And it's like, I basically I'm paying you for my marketing.
Got it. Okay.
So there's other ways you can do it. The model exists. People do for sure do it in the industry. Talking about the other side is, people listening to the content that can be packaged from a buyer's perspective. It could be private podcasts that people would pay a subscription for. We know the subscription model really works in the podcasting space. It can also be that you create course content out of it, workbooks, resources, and other things from what you actually, from the knowledge sharing perspective, have created. So there's ways to do
like yourself, you've written books.
Well, absolutely. So we've taken our podcast.
And you've done TEDx's.
I've not done TEDx yet.
You're doing a TEDx.
I will be doing one.
I want to hear about that. That's going to be interesting. So, for example, you come on, you're talking about all the things that you're talking about, which is quite extraordinary, actually, considering the background that you've got and what you've leaped into. And I've met Ed, and I can see that he's a very strong intellect and has a lot of experience in leadership. So the two of you, I'm sure, have been very supportive towards each other, and he's been a good guiding hand with you. You would then be able to create whatever courses, as you say. So if we were doing, or not just me, but any podcast, and you want to sell your course, you want to provide that opportunity for people, then there's value in it for you to do more podcasts. Okay, I'm starting to follow this. You do know I only started podcasting 3 weeks ago, right?
I did not.
And I've had the most extraordinary 3 weeks because my first one was my son. I interviewed him about going into law school. Then I did one little one on my own about losing weight on a cruise ship. I lost 50 pounds while on a cruise ship. And then a buddy of mine who's got a business, I did one of him. And then I started meeting strangers. It was like 3 podcasts, one of myself and 2 people, my son and my buddy. And then I started at San Juan Social Club. And I met so many extraordinary people like yourself who have incredible stories. So, you know Jeffrey Hazlett?
I do.
And he was one of the people I interviewed. And he actually said, I want you on the network. I don't understand what it means yet, but I'm definitely open to the conversation. And maybe somebody like yourself is who I should be talking to help me analyze what that means.
Well, 100%. And I know Jeffrey because I have a podcast we've talked a little bit about here, and same thing. It's like, it's the vehicle around it. And there's a million reasons to do a podcast. There's a million ways you can monetize something. And then it's about what sits within your own integrity, what sits within your own value system, and what do you want to commit to long term. So it's interesting, when I started my podcast, I built it for one purpose, not clients, which a lot of people find fascinating, because a lot of people think I'm going to do this because I'm going to monetize the eyeballs. Can you? Yes. It's not why I ever built mine, but it's now got momentum to have that potential. Sure. I built it entirely to vet people I thought my clients should hire when they're ready.
Interesting.
So I built the podcast to be of more value to my current client.
So you've got a client and you say, I think there's somebody here that I want to connect you to. Here, watch this.
And we've said, when you get to the place where you've got the right marketing message, it's converting, it's moving, and I'll be like, you're going to now need to maybe amplify your website, do SEO, bring in some other technical people. Here's the people I interviewed. I think they're a good fit for you. That can also, in some ways, create more referral income for me as well, but it made me more valuable to my clients. we've now had 180-ish episodes that are out, half are solo episodes, so I
That's
bring
huge.
my expertise, yeah.
Hey, but 95% don't even get past episode 20.
I know.
So I want to hear about two things. One, your greatest, what you would consider your greatest success with a client, where you took them from X to 100X, and all due to your intervention because you've seen their past, what they were doing, and you saw the future for them. You helped guide it, and they exploded. And two, your greatest failure. What would you like to tell us?
Well, so let's start with the
And then with the failure, what'd you learn from it?
Sure. Let's talk about the first one. So it's actually one of my earliest clients that I served. And when she first came to me, she's like, it was during COVID, so she had money that came from the COVID government fund. And she's like, I'm going to start my business. And she had this philosophy. She's like, I don't want to make a lot of money. And I'm like, whatever, what does that mean? And for her, it was,
doesn't that hurt your brain when you hear that?
Just, what is your number? Because
I want to make money.
None of us all have the same idea. And she's like, I never want to make more than 6 figures. And I said, well, why is that number? I mean, I'm not here to judge the number. I just want to understand the logic behind it. And she said, because I'll pay taxes. And I'm like, well, but don't your tax dollars, and I'm a Canadian, don't your tax dollars go to some things that you think are good?
Yeah.
I mean, not maybe all of them, but some of them. And she said, well, I said, if you can pay tax, your money gets recirculated.
Yes.
So it's not a bad thing to pay taxes, although I know we don't want to give a lot of it. And she was working a lot in the not-for-profit sector. And I said, but let's talk about what if the big business was bigger. And she's like, well, I don't know how I feel about that. And I said, well, figure out what your favorite charity that you donate a lot of services in kind to are. What's their operating budget? And it would happen to be $270,000. And I said, well, what if your business could create stability where you could fund a big portion of that for them?
Okay.
And not just give services, but
what space was she in?
She's around a marketing agency.
Okay.
Out of Portland, Oregon. And I said, well, how did that feel for you? And she's like, I want to create that now. And we helped her change. One, she was negotiating contracts every single month. I'm like, what are you doing? Let's get a business here. If you're renewing clients all the time, you do not need to be negotiating every month. We reduced and changed some of her offers so that they were a little more streamlined, actually started communicating consistently with newsletters. A lot of, in the industry, they do annual reports about how they give back in their service and kind of reports. And we really built this stable piece. And over the course of less than 18 months, she went from a business that was around 50,000 to 350,000 and well on her way to the million. Okay. And I kept saying to her over time, every time I want you to be thinking about what's your next strategic hire. Yeah. What can you do with that? How can you use that new person, build your capability, deliver a greater client experience, keep more of your profit, and fund that not-for-profit you want to do? So now she is, how many years later? So this has been now, I would have said, 4 or 5 years later. And where's she at now? She's consistently about 600K. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And your greatest failure, what'd you learn from it? Greatest failure for me was just a misalignment with a client who wasn't ready. You know, this is you misjudged the client. Yeah. You misjudged the business. I misjudged their ability to stay through the fear. Okay. So this is somebody. It was a psychological thing that you couldn't see coming. I really misread it. I thought they were ready, or I wouldn't have obviously made the offer. And I found myself, and this is somebody I'm still friends with, and now it's interestingly enough, this is a year later, and she's now back trying to still start what she tried to start when I was. Was it a bad idea? I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think you've got to really be aware that you are. I always tell my clients, you're the spark and other people around you are fuel sources. Yeah. But it is not up to somebody else to spark for you. No. Right? So she had a business. She was wanting to sell the business. She thought the business would bring her more cash. And she just didn't have the bandwidth, the financial runway to get her dream off ground zero. And I said, that to me, I always felt, how did I miss it? Yeah. Because nothing, no harm, no foul. I said, we have contracts with clients. I said, we're obviously in the misalignment. And it's one of the few times where I said, I'm going to gift you just a break of the client contract. Really? I'm going to take the money up till here. We'll break bread and say, good luck. Yeah. I just really think you're not prepared for the follow through. And this isn't a fit. But it was disheartening because I really still believed in what she wanted to create. Have you fired any clients? Yes. And for what reasons? Typically, lying behavior.
Yeah.
So it all goes back to the integrity. Lying behavior, or somebody, again, just in the dishonesty is the biggest reason.
Okay. And so the greatest advice you'd give to a young entrepreneur who once has an idea, what 3 things should they put in place before they invest? I have a rule, and you can tell me if I'm right. To start any new business, you need $250,000 and 5 years of your life.
I don't know if you need quite $250,000. I think
Don't need it all up front.
Yeah.
But think about it:
Yeah.
$50,000 a year, at the very least,
Yeah.
to support building something.
No, that's true.
And it's a 5-year process. Now, it may have been cut back if you hire someone that's already going to leap you ahead.
Yes.
So, theoretically, if the minimum general rule is, because remember, we're in bars all the time, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, I got this great idea, and I just shoulda, woulda, coulda," and all this stuff. And the fact is that the majority of these business ideas, the person isn't the right person to do it. They may be great ideas. They're not going to get any funding for it, and if they do, they're going to maybe retain 2-3% because someone else is going to have to do all the investment, all the money.
Yeah.
So what are the 3 things now? Somebody comes to you, you hear it's a good idea, they're really enthusiastic, they got a little bit of experience, they got a little bit of skill. First 3 things that we should do.
I think the first thing is, you have to make the commitment to get off zero, right? And this is, there'll be days.
Commitment to get off zero.
That's right. You can't compound success. You can't, build momentum if you're constantly at zero.
What's zero to you?
Zero to me is no follow through, no implementation.
No action, no implementation, no money, no time,
it's
zero.
Like, you have to have that commitment to, I am going to be moving.
Got it.
Right? And I tell my clients all the time, you control your speed.
Commitment to action. Got it.
Commitment to action, number 1. Number 2, I do think you want to look at what is your commitment level around time and the runway. Because
so a realistic acceptance of what's really the amount of time it's going to take for you to do this.
How much are you really going to commit to this?
Can you put it in?
Yeah, like you've all got
you got a full-time job, got 3 kids, and you barely have enough time to do the work. You're not going to be able to put in enough time for this thing.
Correct.
Got it. Next.
And number 3, I think what's really important is, what does success look like?
That's an incredible question, because success in my world is different than what a lot of people I meet. A lot of people I meet, especially like this huge group that we were in, they look at success in the millions. I look at success by monthly cash flow. Because what I've discovered in my life is X amount of dollars per month gives you freedom. X amount of millions and employees and rent and overhead, the time is gone. So you're going to be, in my opinion, chasing something that you already got to an incredible success. You could stop and do your life now. It's like the story of the fisherman. Do you know this one?
Yes, we do.
It's one of my favorite stories. Guy's doing that fish. He's got a fishing boat, and dude's sitting there saying, "Hey, if we get you a bunch of boats, you can go out and do all this and this, and then what?" He says, "Well, then you can spend your day fishing, because that's what I'm doing now."
That's right.
So
when success measures change, and especially when you're in that emerging space, everyone on the outside is going to judge you on, but do you have clients? Do you have revenue? And cash flow, I think, is a very different conversation than a lot of people. Again, we work with a lot of clients that are navigating cash flow because their inconsistent client growth precipitates this roller coaster they live on.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's a lot of success milestones before revenue is stable.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about, and for sure we're the worst. Entrepreneurs, I think, are the worst. We never celebrate our progress.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are the progress? Like, my job, I said, is to bear witness to it, but it's also to see and advocate for the client. I'm like, if you've never met a stranger and moved a stranger from curious to a one-to-one call, that's a milestone. We have to celebrate that. That is success.
Yeah.
And then it's, well, now we've made the offer. And I'm like, okay, well, now it's then how many offers are we doing? That's a measure of success. And then it's how many offers are getting to the yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a measure of success. And how many of these people, this is all becomes to me what I call an engine, the client growth engine. But I think a really big part of this is, what will success look like? Because when people hire me, when we have a frank conversation of what's the fit, for what you want to achieve, what's the business goal, what's your runway, what does it look like? I think a big conversation we have to have is, how will you be measuring success? Both of my services, but of yourself.
Yeah.
Because I know when people hire me, there's 5 typical, I'm like a board of directors of 5 roles when I get hired for this client because they're the emerging one. You know, I'm there to share knowledge, right, and to teach a lot. We're there to champion and to believe and to hold that vision when you wobble. I'm there to be your ass kicker. I'm there to help me accountable and saying, I'm here to measure. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to measure.
Yeah.
Then we also look at the fact that I get to be the proud parent. I get to see that and to celebrate and say, you know, I know it's not winning for you yet, but the indicators are moving, so stay in getting off zero. And the 5th piece of this puzzle is we really have to also broker the whole ecosystem and say, what does it look like? And I said, over time, if you want to build stability in business, you'll likely have other people that will fill that role. But at the beginning, the hardest bit, why people say entrepreneurship's so isolating, I said, because you're trying to do it all yourself and you don't know what questions to ask.
Nothing has ever been created by self.
And you cannot figure out where the dots are connecting. And if you can't create a good, effective connecting of the dots, you're up for a very wild ride.
Well, the interesting thing is you've seen this movie 100 times. You know what the outcome is, and you know what needs to be put in place, like a director in a movie. He knows he needs this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and then he looks for the actors. If he doesn't have the funding, he doesn't have the space, he doesn't have the technical people that can actually film the thing and edit it, it doesn't matter if you have the best actor in the world, because there's nowhere to put him on film.
Well, and
there's no way to complete the project.
100%.
So you already see all that.
That's right. Your biggest asset when you work with a mentor in a paid capacity is that you are connected to somebody who is a natural problem solver.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, in case nobody told you this,
and a problem avoider.
Business is about a constant solving of a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Or to avoid a problem.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been through these icebergs. You don't need to find all the ones I found. Trust me, there's more out there. But you always have somebody who's got a bias to solving it. And they're going to bring you to a bias to solve it faster. Yeah. And I think the biggest legacy that I watch and witness with clients is, I trust myself to figure this out. I'm like, great, because you will need to. You know, we need to solve the marketing, and then once we have marketing, we don't have a business.
Well, you're not lacking confidence, Christine. You're a woman of massive energy and huge wisdom and experience. And I met Ed first of all, and then when I met you, and actually Ed spoke very highly. He basically said you're the brains of the operation, and I thought, wow, he's just a kind man talking swell about his wife. But in fact, he was actually being realistic and true.
Well, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, but he ended up marrying an incredible woman as well.
Well, thank you.
So I really appreciate you taking the time. I think you and I have more we can talk about. And we might need to do an episode 2 or 3, because I want to drill down on something even more specific with some of the skill sets that you have. And if there's a way that we can find people that could benefit from you, I'd love to be able to pass you on to them.
Thank you. I'd love that.
Thank you for your time, Christine.
My pleasure. Happy to have it.